I'm really glad to be here. Speaking about Alcadon and about our industry is something that we all sitting here in the front row truly enjoy. But I'm going to start off first by describing my own background for those of you who have not met me before. I joined Alcadon 2019, been here for 3.5 to 4 years now. As Finn said, it's been a very interesting and nice journey, and we just got started basically. Prior to Alcadon, I was a business unit director at AdTech, a Swedish listed serial acquirer, where I was responsible for a number of companies throughout Europe, mostly within professional lighting, machine cables, machine cable accessories. Before that, I was the managing director or CEO of 2 different companies, one Norwegian manufacturer of electrical installation material, and one Swedish professional distributor of machine cables and machine cable accessories. I've also been the investment manager of a Swedish investment company called Nordstjernan, and I have been a strategy consultant with the American management consultancy Accenture for a couple of years. That's a bit about my background. Now let's flip the page and talk a little bit about Alcadon and why we are here today. In general, I would say we are a professional distributor. I'm going to talk a bit later about what that actually means. But we are focused on an area called network infrastructure. It's a niche. We're going to talk about that more later as well. We were founded in 1988, and we started in Sweden and quickly expanded to Norway. Today, Norway and Sweden is about 1/3 of the turnover. We have started on a European journey. We started by doing acquisitions in Denmark, Germany, and moved on to Belgium, the Netherlands, and now the UK. Today, the UK is our single largest market, with about 40% of our turnover. And as you can see, we have done quite a lot of acquisitions during this time. It has been an important part of our way forward to do acquisitions, to gain market access. We have about 130 to 140 million euros, 1.6 billion Swedish crowns in turnover. We are profitable. We have actually always been profitable, always showed black figures. We have always created strong, positive cash flows. That has been important to us. To focus a little bit on our employees. We're close to 200 employees today. Our employees are extremely important to us. We measure something called Employee Net Promoter Score, which basically says how motivated are our employees, to what extent can they recommend Alcadon as an employer. Very important to us to instill a sense of entrepreneurship and sense of belonging in the company. With a score of 46, I would say we are not only on the top in our industry, but in general in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Germany. Not many companies exhibit an eNPS score of 46. It's very good. We have over 6,000 shareholders. And to look a little bit deeper on our largest shareholders, I'm proud to say that a lot of the employees of Alcadon Group own shares in Alcadon. And together, as a group, we are the largest single owner of Alcadon Group. In my opinion, there is no stronger incentive than ownership. This is important. And throughout our group, you have a lot of individuals who own shares, according to their own ability, of course, but a lot of people who own shares in Alcadon. And I'm also happy to say that we have several long-term owners that are able to support us in our growth endeavors going forward, with Spiltan, Ribbskottet, Atanase, Consensus. We also did a capital injection this January to support our growth plans. And we got in some very interesting set of new owners as well, like the Second National Pension Fund, Swedish pension fund. And I think we're well equipped to continue our growth journey, for sure. Looking at our history, for natural reasons, since I started 4 years ago, I tend to focus on the last 4 years. I think that's a given from many CEOs. But we started 4 years ago to focus on efficiency. We wanted to improve the foundation of the company, improving our logistical efficiency, improving our gross margins. We saw that we have a potential to increase our gross margins to better reflect the premium position that we have in the market. We also saw an opportunity to focus on cash flows, which I focused a lot on together with our new CFO at the time, Niklas. And when we felt that now we have a really strong foundation to stand on, a very modern company with all the system support that we wanted, then we could start to take another look at acquisitions again. And that's when we started to do a few acquisitions, entering the Danish market, the German market, the Benelux area. And all of these acquisitions have added something important to us. They all added value. In most of the cases, market access, geographical expansion. But some of them added new business areas. Still, within network infrastructure, we want to stick with what we know. That's an important thing about Alcadon. We stick within network infrastructure. That's an important concept for us. Cross-selling, commercial synergies, that we have seen in all acquisitions that we have done. And in some cases, cost synergies. Looks a little bit different depending on the acquisition, and this is something that you bring up rather early on when you speak with a potential target, what kind of synergies we see and what their view is on that. To shortly describe our board of directors, it's a well-balanced board of directors for us, a nice sounding board for us in management. We have significant knowledge in network infrastructure, in IT in general, M&A and finance, a lot of experience and competence, but also industrial management and sales, and the ability to scale up from being small to being global. A very good sounding board for a group management like ours. So we're happy about this board of directors. Now, as a former consultant, I like to look at the business model of a company. I think a business model says a lot about the ability to sustain profitability in the long term, the durability of a company's strategy and business model, extremely important. But before we move on to the business model, I think we should speak a little bit about what we actually do, because not everyone understands this, even though we find it quite simple. So with this schematic, I'm trying to keep it really simple. Our products and systems enable the transmission of data. This is a requirement for digitalization to work. Data today is as important to most individuals and as essential as water or energy. Most people would say so, at least. It's an important, essential part of our everyday life. Now, we all want to be able to stream movies, work from home. Maybe not at the same time, I just realized. But yeah, we want to be able to stream movies, work from home, enjoy the benefits of Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles and all that. And our products and systems, passive networks, are important for that to actually work. Really important. And our products and systems is something that you normally don't see every day. It's fiber optic cable and duct system underground. It's cabling systems behind the walls of any type of property. It's sockets and plugs or street cabinets that you pass without even thinking about it. So people don't normally say, this is an Alcadon product. Nobody thinks about the products that we actually deliver and work with every day. In our business area, commercial networks, that's where we started off from the beginning. We have an extremely strong market position there. Here we offer everything for connectivity, basically the internet, and for connectivity to work in any type of commercial property, be it a hospital, an office, or a data center, doesn't matter, any type of commercial property. In fiber networks, that's also called, or more usually called, FTTX, or fiber to the X, where the X stands for where the fiber actually ends up. This is where we offer complete solutions to connect areas, cities, or properties, making sure that the transmission of data actually works. Important to us, and this is a business area where you would find volumes related to a 5G rollout or a 3G or 4G rollout or an FTTH or broadband rollout. Fiber to the home is a broadband, and it's called FTTH. That's good as a reference. Residential networks, basically we have complete solutions there for smart connected homes, very similar to the business area commercial networks, but more for residential properties. Services and training. Small business area, very important to us. This is the glue that keeps everything together. This is where we educate and train installers. This is where we provide certification courses like the BICSI, an internationally renowned certification course. In Sweden and Norway, for example, we have, even in Denmark now, we have locally adapted certification courses for our own cabling systems. And just in Sweden alone, over 4,000 individual installers paid to go through a certification course in installing our own system. That's why it's like a glue keeping everything together and creates a certain type of stickiness or loyalty among our customer group. But let's move on and talk a little bit about our business model in general. Our business model has not changed. I usually say it hasn't changed since the mid-90s. It's durable, it's stable, it's quite simple, and it's easy to explain. But let's start with the sourcing part here. Slightly less than 20% of our sales today is our own developed products and systems. About 10% of the group staff today works with product management, product development in general. And here's where we develop locally adapted solutions for our markets, mostly within structured cabling, but also within FTTH. And this gives us a sense of differentiation in the market, where we can help our customers, really help them have locally adapted turnkey solutions. One should not forget the professional distribution part. This is who we are, essentially, where we represent globally leading manufacturers within our field, in our local markets. Extremely important for us. And by doing this and having over 200 partners or suppliers that we work with, we have a very flexible offer. We are always able to help our customers find the right products and the right solutions. And one should not think that the main thing about Alcadon is that we should increase our sales of our own in-house developed systems. That's not what our business model is about. The gross margins are sometimes slightly higher in our own products, but we tie up more capital and it drives OpEx. So the profitability within these two areas are not necessarily different. For us, it's about having the best customer-centric offer. And this is really important to understand. It says competence center here. Everything we do is to be a competence center within network infrastructure. We provide solutions, specific solutions for the data center segment, for 5G, FTTH, or specific industry segments, and we're really good at this. We focus on the premium solutions. And what does that actually mean? Well, I can tell you an implication of it. Our gross margins are normally in each market slightly higher than our competitors. And we are able to sustain that because we focus on our competence, we focus on our service, and we focus on really high quality. Always. And I think this is part of the reason why we have extremely loyal customers. Most of our customers have purchased products and systems from us on a regular basis for sometimes 10 years, sometimes even 20 years. A very loyal customer base. The average customer for us is a small to mid-sized installer. But we also work with some really large customers, operators, or installation companies. You find some of the more well-known ones here, like Truly, Bravida, Transtima, Norlys, Deutsche Glasfaser. Some of them. That's a bit about our business model. We're not going to say much more about that, but I am going to describe the value chain or supply chain to see where our core strengths are. And in general, I would say that we are very strong in product management and product development. We are extremely strong in distribution. We are, in general, not a box mover. We're not a wholesaler. We sell directly to installers. We sell directly to end customers, where we help them with problem solving. We help them finding the right solutions. We do have production, mostly assembly, outside of Copenhagen, where we produce FTTH-related solutions. for the rest of our markets. And this is an essential part of being competitive for us. We are strong in logistics, and that's part of being a strong distributor. You have to be strong in logistics and have efficient machinery, in essence. Looking at the competitive map, of course, like everyone else, we have several competitors. If we were to bundle them together to some extent, I would say that on one part, we have large, sometimes global wholesalers who are to a large extent focusing on logistical solutions, have a very wide portfolio. On the other hand, we often have small distributors, and they are often very small. They often represent 1, 2, 3, or maybe 6 or 7 international manufacturers on their local markets. A narrow product portfolio, selling on their competence. Most often they don't have their own brands, for example. They're working solely as distributors. So we are a bit different there. We have some companies that looks fairly similar to Alcadon, but I think that we have found a sweet spot in the market with this mix in our product offer and the way we work, for sure. That was a bit about what we do and how we work. We often get a lot of questions about our industry and the drivers, so I was going to dedicate 3 slides towards our industry and what the main market drivers are affecting us going forward. And let us start with network infrastructure in general, the general overview. The basic thing that affects us are increasing amounts of data. I mentioned it before, when we stream, when we work from home with Internet of Things, the amounts of data keeps increasing. Forecasts say that the amounts of data are going to increase in society with 30 to 40% a year for a foreseeable future. I don't see that changing anytime soon. 30 to 40% a year, and this is the main driver for us. For that to actually work, you need fiber. You need 5G, which requires even more fiber. Now, what you also need is storage capacity. When you speak about storage capacity, when it comes to data, you often talk about cloud solutions. Cloud solutions is actually a physical data center. We are focusing a lot on co-location and enterprise data center, not the large ones that Facebook or Google builds, but the small data centers. And in the Nordics and the UK, this is a business segment that's expected to grow with 10 to 25% a year. And we have managed to grow quite significantly within this business area. Extremely important for us. Another thing that affects us quite significantly is government-induced FTTH targets. Governments all over the world are starting to realize for real that to remain competitive in the long term, you need a large-scale fiber optic network. And governments are prepared to invest in this. And they set targets for 2025, 2030, 2035, and in one case even 2040, because it takes some time to do this. What you can also see is that when you switch from an old copper network, which is usually what many countries use today, like the UK and Germany, you have a lot of copper networks, for example. What happens is that you increase the reliability of your networks with 80%. So 80% increase, that's quite of an incentive to move to fiber, isn't it? But what we also see is that the greenhouse gas emissions per gigabit of data is reduced by up to 88% when you move from copper to fiber. Again, quite an incentive to actually do this. But what happens when a country reaches FTTH maturity? Like a country like Sweden, for example, where most people actually have an internet connection based on broadband, fiber-based broadband. What happens then? It's a moving target. It's a moving target. You have population growth, technological development. You have continuous need to upgrade your networks to increase the capacity. When the amount of data keeps on increasing all the time, you need to improve the backbone continuously. So for us, we have actually seen in mature market that this is for sure a moving target all the time and plenty left to do. And then we haven't even started speaking about 5G. 5G means that you need a lot of base stations, a lot of antennas, because the range within which they work is quite small. And every base station and antenna needs fiber to work. That is important. So if you were to build out fully fledged 5G operations across the country, we are talking about, if you compare with 4G and FTTH, 2 to 16 times more fiber. And 5G hasn't really gotten started yet. Today it's a big city thing. It hasn't really started for real yet. And let us not forget indoor connectivity. In places like this where we are standing or sitting right now, you need connectivity. That's 80% of the bandwidth that we use today. And for that to function, Max is going to speak about that a little bit later, we need a structured cabling system for connectivity to work. And that market is expected to grow with 5 to 10% a year going forward. And if you look 15 years back in Europe, it has grown with 7 to 8%. It's a stably growing market where we have a very strong position. And are very profitable, I should add, as well. So it's a very nice market that many people tend not to look at because the growth in FTTX is so large, but it is an important segment worth talking about. Now, most of the questions I get regarding our industry concerns FTTX or even FTTH. So we are going to speak now a little bit more about the broadband rollout that is occurring in Europe. We are present in the markets that are red here. And I want to start speaking about Sweden, where most people have fiber-based internet subscriptions. But 30%, almost 30% today, I think it's 25 or 27% of the investments being needed to reach the government targets by 2025 remains. And that's a target that keeps on being moved forward as well. So again, a moving target. To a large extent, this depends on the rural area coverage of Sweden being about 40%, which is not that much. So large volumes of fiber are still needed on the Swedish market. And if we take a look here at some really interesting markets with the UK, Germany, and Belgium, they just got started basically. In the UK alone, almost 300% growth is expected until 2027. Quite a lot. I saw an analyst wrote that their analysis showed that they expected material deliveries for the FTTH rollout in the UK to be growing with about 26% a year until 2028, I believe. Significant growth numbers. Germany, a similar scenario there with 200% expected growth. And Belgium, far behind, but they have very aggressive plans for a rollout the next 5 to 10 years. So I hope you understand that FTTH is an extremely interesting growth segment for us. It's not our only segment. Network infrastructure is a wide area where we are focused on several segments, but FTTH is extremely interesting. And let us take a look at the 3 fastest growing countries in Europe today, in volume and in percentage. I think it's interesting to see that we are present in 3 of them. Belgium, the UK, and Germany. This is a conscious decision that we made a few years ago, that we were going to make our organic growth profile become even more attractive by expanding to these countries. So it's a conscious decision. We followed through on it, and I think we have a very bright future ahead of us within this segment. And as you can see, a lot of homes remains to be passed by fiber. An extremely interesting market.